The candle flickered between two untouched plates, its flame swaying like a heartbeat running out of patience. Emily stared at the chair across from her. Empty, silent, accusing. She checked her phone again. No messages. No calls. Just that same dull glow reflecting off her disappointed eyes. Her friend's words echoed in her head. "Trust me, Emily, this guy's different. He's kind. He's a single dad. Yes. But he's serious about finding someone real." But 40 minutes had passed. And all she had was melted ice in her drink, and a heart that was tired of waiting. The waitress walked by, giving her that soft, pitying smile Emily had seen too many times before. "Still waiting?" "Yeah," Emily murmured, forcing a smile. "Truth, maybe just a few more minutes." She looked around at the couples laughing, leaning close, sharing moments she could only imagine. Each giggle felt like a tiny reminder of what she was missing. She sighed, reaching for her purse ready to leave, when the sound of little footsteps echoed across the restaurant. 3 tiny girls, triplets, no older than 5, came marching in like a parade of sunshine. Matching yellow dresses, sparkly shoes, and ribbons in their curls. They scanned the room until their eyes landed on Emily. The smallest one, clutching a stuffed bunny, walked up to her table with absolute confidence. "Are you Miss Emily?" she asked in the sweetest, most innocent voice. Emily blinked. "Yes." The girl smiled, missing a front tooth. "My daddy's sorry he's late." The restaurant went quiet. Before Emily could say a word, the other 2 climbed into the seats across from her, pulling out coloring books and crayons from their tiny purses. It was chaos and charm all at once. And then, he walked in. A tall man, slightly out of breath, holding a paper bag, hair tousled, eyes wide with apology. He stopped when he saw her, really saw her. "I'm so sorry," he said, voice low and sincere. "The babysitter canceled last minute. I didn't want to reschedule. I didn't want to miss this." Emily should have been annoyed. But looking at the triplets now coloring her napkin, giggling softly, something inside her melted. As the night went on, the awkwardness faded into laughter. The girls told stories about their dad, how he burned pancakes, danced like a robot, and read bedtime stories with funny voices. Emily couldn't stop smiling. And for the first time in years, she felt warmth spreading through the empty spaces of her heart. Later that night, when they stood under the soft glow of the streetlights, he looked at her, nervous but hopeful. "I didn't mean to bring all this chaos into your night," he said. Emily smiled. "Maybe chaos was exactly what I needed." He chuckled, glancing at his daughters now fast asleep in his arms. "They liked you, you know." "Good," she whispered. "Because I think I like them too." And as he smiled, something unspoken hung in the air. Something that felt like a beginning. Because sometimes love doesn't come dressed in perfection. Sometimes it arrives late, holding 3 little hands, wearing yellow dresses, and saying, "My daddy's sorry he's late." Lonely expectation turns to surprise. The restaurant was softly lit. The kind of place designed for laughter, stolen glances, and whispered promises. But for Emily, the light felt heavy, like it was exposing her loneliness to every pair of eyes in the room. She sat at a small round table near the window, nervously twisting the napkin in her hands as the candle between the plates burned lower and lower. The clock on the wall ticked louder than it should have, each passing minute cutting into her patience and her hope. She had been here before. Not this restaurant, but this feeling. The waiting, the disappointment, the quiet shame of realizing maybe it was foolish to believe this time would be different. Her best friend, Clara, had convinced her to try again after a long year of solitude. "He's not like the others," Clara had said, excitement lacing her voice. "He's kind, mature, and real. He's a single dad, so he understands responsibility and loss. You'll like him, Em." Just give it one chance. Emily had agreed, mostly out of politeness. But somewhere deep down, a small spark of hope had dared to flicker. It had been years since she allowed herself to feel that. So she spent the afternoon getting ready, trying on 2 dresses before choosing the soft blue, one that made her feel like herself again, fixing her hair, checking her reflection, and telling herself this time it wouldn't end with her sitting alone. But as the minutes turned to nearly an hour, that spark was fading fast. She glanced at her phone again. No messages. No missed calls. Just silence. The kind of silence that feels personal, even though it shouldn't. The waitress passed by with a sympathetic smile, asking if she wanted to order something to start. Emily forced a small laugh. "No, I'll wait," she said. Though her heart was whispering, "He's not coming." She tried to distract herself, pretending to scroll through the menu, pretending she didn't see the couple across the room holding hands, or the older man pulling out a chair for his wife. Each happy scene around her deepened the ache that sat in her chest. She looked toward the entrance again, half expecting, half dreading to see someone walk through. But no one came. The chair across from her remained stubbornly empty, the untouched glass of water glinting beneath the candlelight. Her disappointment wasn't just about being stood up, it was about what it represented. The idea that maybe love had passed her by, that maybe her time for connection had quietly expired while she wasn't paying attention. She exhaled softly, her hand resting near her purse, ready to leave before her vulnerability became too visible. And then, just as she began to stand, the sound of tiny footsteps echoed through the restaurant. Light, playful, out of place. The kind of sound that didn't belong in a room full of adults. 3 little girls entered, each one a mirror of the other, wearing matching yellow dresses and sparkling shoes that clicked against the tile floor. Their curls bounced as they looked around with wide, searching eyes. The air shifted, people turned to watch them. Emily did too, curiosity flickering through the dull ache in her chest. Before she could process what was happening, one of the girls, the smallest, stepped forward, clutching a stuffed bunny by its ear. She walked straight toward Emily's table, her big eyes full of innocent confidence. "Are you Miss Emily?" she asked in a sweet, high voice that instantly softened the air around them. Emily froze for a moment, confused, glancing around as if this was some kind of prank. Yes," she said hesitantly. The little girl smiled brightly, revealing a missing front tooth. "My daddy's sorry he's late." Time stopped. Every sound in the restaurant faded into the background as Emily looked at the 3 little girls now standing before her. They weren't shy or awkward. They were calm, cheerful, completely at ease. The second one climbed into the empty chair across from her, setting down a tiny purse, while the third opened a coloring book and started drawing, as if they had done this 100 times before. The smallest girl giggled softly, holding out a crayon to Emily. Her confusion melted into something warmer, something she couldn't name yet. In that single moment, her loneliness collided with a miracle she hadn't seen coming. The empty seat across from her was no longer empty. The air that once carried disappointment now hummed with unexpected laughter, innocence, and the kind of sweetness that could only come from children who carried light wherever they went. Unexpected warmth and connection. For a few seconds, Emily could only stare at the 3 little girls sitting around her table, unsure whether to laugh, cry, or call the waiter to confirm that this was real. They were identical. Same curious brown eyes, same curls that danced with every movement, and the same spark of mischief that seemed to follow them like sunlight. One was coloring a picture of a bunny on her napkin. Another was arranging the salt and pepper shakers like toys. And the smallest was sitting upright, studying Emily with a seriousness that made her smile. The restaurant, which had felt heavy and lonely moments ago, now hummed with gentle chaos and giggles. Emily leaned slightly forward, her voice soft but uncertain. "So, where's your daddy?" The smallest girl looked up at her, her expression proud and full of love. "He's coming. He said he's sorry he's late. But he didn't want to cancel again, because he said you're special." That word, special, made Emily's chest tighten. There was something so pure about how it was said. With no hesitation or hidden meaning, just truth. The innocence of it hit her harder than she expected. Before she could reply, the door opened again, and a gust of cool air swept through the restaurant. A tall man hurried inside, slightly breathless, his dark hair tousled by the wind. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, his eyes searching anxiously until they landed on her, and on his daughters. He paused for a heartbeat, relief washing over his face before he walked quickly to their table. "Girls," he whispered, crouching down beside them. "What did we talk about?" "No running ahead." The eldest pouted, crossing her arms. "But Daddy," she looked lonely. Emily couldn't help but laugh softly at that. The man turned to her, clearly embarrassed, and for a second, he just looked, as though trying to read her reaction before speaking. "I'm so sorry," he said, voice low and genuine. "I know this isn't how a blind date should go. The babysitter canceled at the last minute, and I didn't want to stand you up. I didn't know what else to do but bring them along." His words tumbled out quickly, but there was sincerity in every one of them. Emily studied him. The faint tiredness under his eyes, the way he glanced at his daughters with tenderness, and the quiet strength in how he stood there, vulnerable but unapologetically honest. She saw no arrogance, no pretense. Just a man doing his best in a life that clearly demanded a lot from him. Something inside her softened. She smiled gently, motioning toward the empty chair. "Well," she said, "you're all here now. Have a seat before your girls finish coloring the whole menu." He laughed, and it was a warm, disarming sound that broke through the lingering tension. He sat down, and for the first time, the table felt full of noise, energy, and something alive. As dinner went on, the awkwardness slowly dissolved. The triplets talked non-stop, telling stories about how their dad burned pancakes that morning, how he couldn't braid hair right, and how he always made up funny songs during bath time. Each confession made him blush, but Emily could see how much love filled the spaces between their words. She joined their laughter, her earlier disappointment now replaced with curiosity and warmth. There was a rhythm in their small family, a connection that felt unpolished but deeply real. Every now and then, she caught him looking at her, not in the way men usually did on first dates, but with quiet gratitude. He seemed surprised that she wasn't uncomfortable, that she didn't treat his daughters as a burden. And Emily realized something herself. She wasn't pretending. She was happy. Truly happy. One of the girls reached across the table and placed her tiny hand over Emily's. "Daddy said you like flowers," she said. "We picked these before we came." She opened her small purse and pulled out 3 slightly wilted daisies, their stems tangled, but full of effort. Emily's throat tightened. She took the flowers gently, smiling at the sweet sincerity in their gesture. "They're beautiful," she whispered, as laughter filled the space around her. Emily noticed how time had started moving differently. Slower, softer, like it was wrapping her in something familiar yet new. The loneliness that had sat beside her all evening was gone, replaced by this unexpected connection that felt fragile and warm all at once. A new beginning. When the evening began, Emily had walked in the restaurant, expecting another forgettable date. Another polite conversation that would fade into silence and leave her heart a little emptier. But now, as the night stretched on, she found herself surrounded by laughter, that wasn't hers alone. The three little girls, her unplanned dinner companions, were still talking animatedly, their eyes glowing under the soft restaurant lights. Their father, Daniel, as she'd learned, sat across from her, smiling in quiet amusement at his daughter's endless energy. What had started as an awkward, almost painful evening had transformed into something tender and unexpectedly healing. The meal was long over, but none of them seemed eager to leave. The triplets had decided that Emily needed to learn how to fold napkins into animals, and she obliged, laughing when hers turned into something that looked more like a crumpled cloud than a swan. Daniel leaned back, watching her, his expression softening in a way that caught her off guard. It wasn't just admiration, it was recognition. The kind you feel when you meet someone who sees the world the way you do, someone who carries quiet scars and understands what it means to be alone, yet still chooses kindness. Outside, the evening had shifted to twilight, a gentle rain beginning to fall against the windows. The girls pressed their palms to the glass, drawing hearts and smiley faces in the condensation. Emily felt a pang of emotion rise in her chest, that rare mix of joy and fear. Joy for what she was feeling, fear that it was too good to last. She had built so many walls over the years, brick by brick, every disappointment another reason not to believe in timing or fate. But tonight, something inside her had cracked open, letting light in through all the places she thought were permanently closed. Daniel caught her gaze, his voice low. "Thank you for staying," he said, almost shyly. "I know this wasn't how things were supposed to go." She smiled, shaking her head. "I don't think there's a right way for nights like this. Sometimes, the best things happen when everything goes wrong." His smile deepened, but it wasn't playful. It was full of quiet gratitude. He didn't speak for a moment, just looked at her the way someone looks when words would only ruin the truth. One of the triplets tugged on Emily's sleeve. "Miss Emily, do you like bedtime stories?" she asked, her small voice echoing with innocence. Emily nodded, laughing softly. "I used to read them all the time." The little girl's eyes brightened. "Daddy makes up stories. He says the best ones start with a mistake, but end with a miracle." Emily glanced at Daniel, and he gave an embarrassed smile. "I may have said that once or twice." As the rain thickened outside, they finally gathered their things. Daniel helped his daughters into their small coats, each one giggling as he tried to button them up correctly. Emily stood beside the table, holding the 3 wilted daisies they had given her earlier, the petals now slightly drooping, but still carrying the warmth of their gesture. They stepped out together into the cool evening air, the scent of rain wrapping around them like a soft blanket.